Let's get straight to the point, because at this stage of your life, with over 50 years of experience in the world, your time is your most valuable asset, and we are not here to waste it playing teenage guessing games. Listen to me carefully. When a mature, intelligent, and selective woman really wants to have sex with you, forget everything you think you know about the obvious signals you see in movies or that worked when you were 25. That is rookie territory. She will never verbalize it directly to you. Never. The social and personal risk for her is too high. Instead, she has developed a much more sophisticated mechanism, an evolutionary survival radar that she is going to deploy to evaluate you. And to do so, she will always, invariably and without exception, ask you for these two things. And if you fail to recognize them, it doesn't matter how successful you are in business or how physically well-preserved you are, desire will evaporate before you even realize it. I am a doctor specializing in male sexual health and behavior in the second half of life, and my schedule is full of men like you. Executives, entrepreneurs, high-level professionals who handle million-dollar negotiations without blinking. However, week after week I see in my private practice the clinical truth without anesthesia. These same brilliant men are massively failing this basic exam of female psychology. And the worst part is not that they fail. The worst part is that the majority are not even aware that they were in the middle of a critical evaluation until it is too late, and they find themselves on the way home, alone, driving in silence and wondering what the hell happened if the dinner was fantastic, the conversation fluid, and the chemistry seemed undeniable. Why did everything suddenly cool down right at the end? I will tell you why this happens. It happens because vital experience, paradoxically, is playing against you. At 20 or 30 years old, the dynamic was pure testosterone and urgency. If she wanted sex, maybe she was impulsive, maybe the signals were physical and evident. But a woman who is interested today in a man of your age operates on a completely different level of sophistication and demand. She has already gone through impulsive relationships. Now, when she looks for an older man, she is not looking for momentary excitement. She is looking for integral safety. She is looking for emotional intelligence that she no longer finds in younger men. And above all, she is looking for what in my field we call social and sexual calibration. She needs to know before giving you access to her intimacy, if you are a man who can read the room. She needs to verify if you are capable of handling the inherent sexual tension of the moment without becoming an anxious teenager drooling, nor a disconnected or cold man who seems to have no blood in his veins. It is an extremely delicate balance that few achieve. Therefore, burn this into your mind. She does not make these two requests because she needs your practical help. She is an adult and resolute woman, probably has been solving her own problems for years. She doesn't need you for that. She makes these requests because she desperately needs to know who you really are when you are under subtle pressure. She needs to see how your autonomic nervous system reacts when presented with an unforeseen event or unexpected physical proximity. And here lies the fundamental error, the deadly trap into which 9 out of 10 mature men fall. Pay attention. The majority confuse these two crucial requests with simple kindness, with being polite, or with trivial conversation to fill silences. And as pragmatic men that you are, used to solving problems in the corporate world, you process the information with your logical male brains. She poses a doubt and your brain says, "Problem detected, initiating solution protocol." And you respond literally to the question. You give her data, you offer logical options, you give her a practical roadmap, and you feel useful. But in that precise instant, while you are proud of your efficiency, the desire switch in her limbic brain turns off instantly. What does she think at that moment? She doesn't think, "What a useful man." She thinks, "It's another man who doesn't understand subtext. It's another man who doesn't know how to read between the lines. I would have to guide him step by step to bed, and that kills any mystery and any attraction." It is vital that you understand that these two requests are not vulgar tests about money, nor about imminent marriage commitment. They are much subtler, more psychological, and therefore much more dangerous if you don't detect them in time. Before revealing the first one, I want us to do a quick exercise of brutal honesty here between us. Think about that last date that left you confused. Everything was going smoothly, the laughter was genuine, eye contact intense. And suddenly, toward the end of the night, she asked a question or made a comment that seemed a bit out of place, something that broke the rhythm. You responded as best you could from logic, and felt how the energy in the room changed, how an invisible wall went up. If it happened to you, it's because you failed one of these two tests. Acknowledging this is not pleasant, but it is the mandatory first step to stop tripping over the same stone. Let's get into the material. The first critical request is what in my clinical practice I have termed the logistic leadership test. This test almost never happens at the beginning of the night. It usually appears midway through the interaction, when comfort is already established, perhaps after dinner or at the second bar, when the possibility of the night extending begins to be a palpable but unspoken reality. She will stop the fluid conversation, make a subtle pause, and pose a specific and sometimes slightly uncomfortable doubt about the immediate future of the evening. She is not going to ask, "Where are we going now?" That would be too direct. She is going to pose a potential logistical problem. For example, she might look at her watch with a gesture of rehearsed worry and say something like, "Ugh, I didn't realize the time. I'm not sure if I left my car in a good place to be out this late. That area is sometimes complicated." Or perhaps if you went by taxi, she might say, "I'm a little worried about how I'm going to get home if this goes on much longer. Transport services at these hours become impossible." The average man hears this and his solver brain panics. He thinks she is genuinely worried about the safety of her car or about not being able to get home, and starts vomiting practical solutions. "Don't worry, if you want we can ask for the check now and I'll walk you to the car." Or, "Look, I just opened the app and there are taxis available in 3 minutes. If you want, let's order one now." Fatal error. She is not asking you for a logistical solution. I repeat, she doesn't want you to solve the transport problem. She is asking you for leadership and protection. She is telling you covertly, "I am willing for this to continue late," which implies that I am considering having sex with you, but first I need to know if you have control of the situation so I can relax, disconnect my vigilant brain and let myself go. If you get nervous and start giving her options as if you were a scared hotel concierge, you are demonstrating two terrible things. First, that you don't have a clear plan for the night, and second, that her minimal worry destabilizes you emotionally. No woman feels attracted to a man she can destabilize with a simple question about a taxi. The correct response, the response of the mature and expert man who knows these dynamics, is absolute calm, assertiveness, and taking command. You don't give her options. You assume total responsibility. You look her in the eyes with unbreakable tranquility, and tell her with a firm and deep voice, "Don't worry absolutely about any of that. I will personally take care of you getting home perfectly and safely when the time comes. Forget the topic. Now let's finish this drink. You were telling me something very interesting." And you change the subject radically. Period. You don't explain your plan. You don't ask for her approval. You don't enter into debate. You simply communicate verbally and non-verbally that the environment and her safety are under your absolute control and that it is not a topic for discussion. When you do this, if you are observant, you will notice an immediate and visceral physical change in her. Her shoulders, which perhaps were slightly tense, will drop. Her breathing will become deeper. Her body language will open up to you again, and it is likely she will smile at you with a mixture of relief and admiration. You have just passed the first filter, that of safety. Now she knows you are a man capable of containing the situation, and that is an aphrodisiac more potent than any expensive cologne for a woman who knows what she wants. But don't declare victory yet. Many men pass this first filter out of pure protective intuition, but fail miserably in the second. Because the second test is the most difficult, the subtlest, and it is where 90% of men who manage to demonstrate logistical leadership fall. If the first request was about control of the external environment, the second request is about the calibration of intimacy and personal space. It is the proximity calibration test. This generally occurs in the final phase, when the environment is already more private. Perhaps in the car on the way to a place, in the elevator going up to her apartment, or at your door while you look for keys. If you have managed to get to that point, the atmosphere is charged with unresolved sexual tension. And that is when she launches the trial. This request will always seem trivial, almost irrelevant, a trifle. But it will obligatorily require that you break the barrier of social space and enter her bubble of personal or intimate space suddenly and functionally. It is a brilliant trap designed to measure your self-control. For example, she could turn her back to you and say, "Help me with this dress zipper, please, it got caught a little up here." Or she could be looking at her mobile phone and, suddenly, bring it closer to scarce centimeters from your face, invading your space and hers, and say, "Look at this photo my sister sent me. Don't you think this is incredible?" What is she evaluating here? She is measuring your internal temperature and your impulse control. If the man is desperate for sex, has been holding back desires all night, he will see this as the definitive starting signal. He will launch himself like an anxious animal. Try to kiss her neck awkwardly while feigning help with the zipper, or his hands will tremble touching the fabric of her dress. Or he will make an out-of-place sexual comment about the photo on the mobile. That is an immediate failure. It demonstrates zero impulse control and thirst for validation. On the other hand, if the man is too shy, insecure, or petrified by the fear of offending her, he will tense up like a board. Sweat cold. Keep a ridiculous distance while trying to manipulate the zipper with his fingertips to not graze her skin. Or he will physically move back to look at the mobile phone, demonstrating palpable discomfort regarding physical closeness. That is also a resounding failure, because it demonstrates lack of confidence and disconnection with his own sexuality. The correct response from the expert, the only one that passes this filter, is clinical neutrality and absolute naturalness. You enter her personal space as if it were the most normal thing in the world. If it is the zipper, you approach with firm step, manipulate the zipper with secure and precise movements. Your fingers can graze her back, yes, but it is a functional contact, firm, without unrequested extra caresses, but also without a hysterical fear of touching her. You are a man helping a woman, period. If it is the phone, you don't move away. You maintain your position, invade her personal space just enough to view the screen comfortably. Your face is close to hers. You can smell her perfume. You are conscious of her closeness. But your attention is calm and focused on the photo. Your bodily attitude must communicate a very clear and potent message. I am a sexual man. I am fully conscious of your body so close to mine. I like this, but I have total and absolute control over my instincts. I don't need you. I don't need to jump on you at the first opportunity. I can be in the fire without burning. That controlled indifference, that contained tension, that capacity to be close without becoming desperate, is what drives a mature woman crazy. It is the definitive proof that you are a secure man, master of yourself and your desire. When you overcome this second test, validation in her brain is total. There are no longer doubts. You have demonstrated logistical safety and have demonstrated intimate calibration. There are no longer psychological barriers to tear down. Now yes, the light is intensely green. But attention, and this is fundamental for your diagnosis. These two requests have to occur in the same interaction or in the same sequence of dates to be valid as a signal of imminent sexual desire. If she only gives you the first one, the logistical test, but never seeks physical closeness, perhaps she only sees you as a provider of safety, a reliable friend who takes her and brings her. Be careful with the friend zone. If she only gives you the second one, the proximity test, but never allows you to lead logistics, perhaps she is just playing, seeking momentary validation of her attractiveness, but has no intention of going further. But when a woman throws you the logistics test and you resolve it with unquestionable leadership, and shortly after throws you the proximity test and you resolve it with serene control, then, my friend, there is no room for doubt. She has made the internal decision to have sex with you. The yes is already given in her mind. What follows from there no longer depends on her, nor on more tests. It depends exclusively on you and your capacity to escalate the situation physically, to make the transition from control to action without breaking the magic and tension you have created with such effort. The problem is that, even passing the tests, many men reach this point and freeze at the finish line. They don't know how to give the first kiss or how to initiate real physical contact after having shown such restraint. But the art of the sexual close for the mature man, How to move from green light to action without being abrupt nor seeming needy is a complex and fascinating topic that requires its own detailed analysis. It is the next level of mastery, and I will treat it in depth in upcoming exclusive material for those who really want to master this area completely. For now, your immediate task is to go out there and start sharpening your senses. Start detecting these patterns in your interactions. Stop listening to the literal words of women and start listening to the background music, the subtext. The next time a woman poses a logistical doubt, don't solve it, lead it. And the next time she invites you into her personal space with a trivial excuse, don't launch yourself nor move away as if she burned. Keep calm, breathe deeply and enjoy the tension, because in that tension resides the true power of attraction of the man who knows what he is doing. Remember always that at our age, seduction is no longer a sprint of youthful energy and marked biceps. It is a high-level psychological chess game. And now you have the rules of the two most important moves she is going to make against you. Learn to answer them with mastery, and you will stop being the man who returns home confused and alone, to become the man who understands, enjoys and dominates the dynamic of female desire. See you in the next lesson.